Thanks, everyone. This is the Ask April and Cindy series, and I'm April.
And I'm Cindy, and this is the first of our series of travel tips.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining us, and we're back. This is episode 6 in our series of travel tips and tricks, and tonight's episode is the world's smallest toiletries bag, and I'm super excited to have travel ninja Cindy Cohen sharing with us her hacks, because it's amazing how much space you can save by downsizing your stuff. And she's shown me you don't have to get rid of something. So let's take it away, Cindy.
Right, great. It's going to be great. I'm excited to share some of the things that I've done. So.
All right. So the first question I've got is, everyone talks about packing light, and toiletries ends up being a huge element, I think, when you're thinking about packing. It seems like struggle a lot with the toiletries. And so why do you think packing light on your toiletries is so important?
Well, it's funny because when I traveled in 2016, I traveled for 8 months and I carried everything on my back. So it was all in a backpack. So I could only pack what I could actually carry and what fit in that bag. And what I found when I was doing that was, I would say like 75% of the things in my bag were not clothes. So you looked at that bag and you're thinking, oh, that's a lot of stuff. It's stuff. It's just stuff. It's everything from like toiletries to gadgets to like, my Kindle and, maybe writing supplies and other items that I thought I needed along the way. And here I had like this little tiny package of clothes, but all these other things. So I realized real quickly that I needed to both downsize the size of the things and the stuff that I was carrying and the number of things that I was carrying. And I know twice during that trip, I stopped and took everything out of my bag and just started going, what can I do without? And, getting rid of things because it was too much stuff. I didn't have room for things I wanted to bring along. So every little bit helps is what I learned. And the toiletries is a big part of that because it's something you use every single day. You need to, wash up and take a shower and brush your teeth and do those kinds of things. But you need the right things, but you don't need everything you think you have in your bathroom today. You do not need that. And you realize really quickly what you actually need when you have to carry it. So I think that really helps the overall packing light if you can get your toiletries down to a minimal size.
So is the style of the bag something that matters, or will just any bag work? Because I know a lot of people like to just use a little Ziploc bag and try to make that work.
And I think for short trips, yes, any bag will work. And if you don't have a bag, that's certainly fine. But I do know that the type of bag you have when I was traveling made a huge difference. So when I started traveling, I used just a standard toiletries bag, which is what I'll show today. But then as I was traveling, I think it was a couple of months into my trip, I realized that this wasn't working for me. You have this bag and you're digging in it for all of your things, and the smaller thing like my nail file is dropped down at the bottom, or my little tiny lipstick has fallen away into the bottom and all the stuff is at the top. So finding what I needed in the bathroom when I was trying to get dressed or get ready was a pain, and I don't have room to like dump it out and spread it out like you do in your bathroom necessarily. It's not something you want to do, and especially if you dump it out, then it has a tendency to roll and you've lost stuff, right? So that made me uncomfortable. So after talking with my mom about it, she made me a little bag, which I know you can buy, but she made me a little bag about the size of a coffee cup, and it stands up. And I really love that. That's what I wanted. I wanted something that I could just sit on the counter. All my things are in it. I can see inside of it all the things and pull it out, but it doesn't, it doesn't fall over. I don't have to dig into the bottom. It just sort of sits there. And I think that makes a big difference, to be able to open it up. So looking at a bag that like is freestanding and you can see in it is helpful, so that you don't have to dig to the bottom and it's not like a bag. Do you know what I mean? Like a Ziploc bag, those kinds of things are hard to use. And then also another thing I found was that I need a hook on my bag. So your bag should have a loop on it or a little hook or something, because if you're traveling in various different places where you want to, I stay in a lot of hostels, so there's not always a lot of bathroom counter space, and if there is, you don't know how clean that is, so you don't want to lay your stuff out or put your bag on it because that might be wet. Having a hook
Right.
makes a big difference. You can hang it up. I also hang it up in the in the hotel room or in the hostel. I could just hang it up so it's not sitting somewhere because you run out of counter space or places to lay
Right.
things down. And also the hook will help if you are on a road trip or something and you go into a public restroom and you just want to like spruce up, wash your face or brush your teeth. You don't necessarily want to set that bag down in this public restroom. So if you can hang it up somewhere, that really helps. You can take your thing out of it and then hang it up over here and it's out of the way. So I do think that the function, thinking about how you're going to use your bag, is really important. And you'll see when I look at my bag that I actually keep bags within a bag. And that I learned too.
Hmm.
It helps if you have a larger bag not to just throw stuff in it, because again, things get disorganized and it's hard to find exactly what you want. If you know it's in that smaller bag, in that bag, you'll find it faster than digging through the bigger bag. I use that same theory with my suitcase as well. But I do think the function of your bag, you want to think about how you're going to use it when you're traveling, will make a difference. They have those toiletry bags that unroll and hang up on the
Yeah.
back. Although that's from a functional perspective is a good thing, I think those bags are really huge. That's a lot of stuff, and I wouldn't be taking that many things. So just paying attention to that and the size of your bag. That's a good point. Is real important. They say with your suitcase that never bring, if you buy a big suitcase, you'll fill it. So if you
Oh,
want to travel
yeah.
small, the best way to travel small is to start with a small bag and make your stuff fit in the small bag. And I think that works too with the toiletries bag. If you get a big toiletries bag, I guarantee you'll fill it full of stuff. You'll find stuff to put in there. So start with a small bag and fill it up as you go along. So that's, I think, what you need when you're looking at the size and the style of the bag you're trying to use for toiletries.
Yeah, I think that's really smart because I've seen those wonderful rolling bags with the clip. It's like the same thing. And I've actually seen the size. It's like that's going to take half the backpack just for that. It's like,
Right,
yeah, I don't want to do that.
right.
So I'm excited to see your bag.
Yeah,
So, can we take a look at what is in your bag?
sure. So before we do that, I'm going to have us take a quick look at what I actually, what's in the bag. I'm going to show a list here of the items that are in my bag. So this is what's in here. I can send this list and we'll put this on the YouTube comments as well. So all of these things are in this little bag, and now I'm going to show you. I'm going to unpack the bag. I'll start with the full bag and then we'll unpack it. So let's just take a look. Okay, here's my toiletries bag. It's a small clear bag with 2 bags inside it and a few other miscellaneous items. So I'm going to unpack it for you. First, I have my sunscreen. I bring sunscreen that is solid, a lot less hassle. I have a hairbrush. There's a mirror, and it has a little stand. And my bag of stuff, and a washcloth, which I keep in a Ziploc bag to keep everything else dry. And this is my clear bag that I can use to put liquids in for the air flight. Now we'll unpack the other bags and take a look what's inside there. So I have my stuff and then my toiletries bag for the shower. And in here I keep everything that I need to take in the shower with me. It stands up, so it has the stuff to brush my teeth, my shampoo, and shower items. In this bag are all the little miscellaneous things. I bring along eye drops, a pair of scissors, a nail file, nail clippers, some cologne. I have a small first aid item, so Band-Aids and Neosporin in case that's necessary, some tweezers. I have some hair ties and bobby pins, some cotton swabs, which everybody needs. So let me arrange a few of these so we can unpack the other box. I also have Advil, which is part of my little first aid kit. Now, this bag, as I said, has the items in it that I use in the bathroom or in the shower. So let's take a look in here. So I have a small toothbrush. I found this toothbrush at a hotel and I just use it. It's very small, lightweight. I also bring dental floss. I brush my teeth with baking soda, so instead of toothpaste, I bring a small thing of baking soda. Then I have very small items of shampoo and conditioner, and a little bit of hair oil, which is a mist I use on my hair. Then I have some body lotion, and then for washing my face, I wash my face with honey, so there's a little bit of honey here. I use a little bit of soap if necessary in the shower, and there's a little toner in a little spray bottle. I have a little bit of coconut oil that I use as an all-over moisturizer and also on my face. And then I have a little tub here of deodorant. I use a cream deodorant. It's the smallest format I can find. And so then we're looking at my bag. This bag has a little hook which I can hang up in the shower, and it stands up as you saw before. So that works perfect. And that's my Toiletries bag. Okay, so that's what's in my bag. Now I want to just remind people that in my Toiletries bag, that does not include things like my makeup, feminine products, men's shaving gear, a larger first aid kit, which I might take if I was on a longer an active event or something. So there are other things that might be included in my Toiletries bag if I was going for a long period of time. Like when I traveled for 8 months, I also included like a more extensive first aid kit, just a little more items. I also included a more extensive nail care kit because I knew I was going to have to take care of those things, so I have more than just a nail clipper. But that's about it. Otherwise, everything else is in there, and as you can see, my daily shower equipment and everything else is in that bag, and it all fits in that little container. So,
wow. So how do you get things so small?
see, now that's a good thing. So I'm going to just start by showing you a few things that you saw in my bag, but I'm going to show you the difference between the larger item and the smaller item so that you can see how that works. So let's go take a look at that. Okay, so to keep your bag small, you want to think like a backpacker. You need to think about the size and format of every item you put in your bag. So let's look at a couple of things and the differences in size. First is my washcloth. This is a normal washcloth, but what I bring is a microabrasion cloth. And this cloth is one of those towels that's large. Use it to scrub your back, but I have simply just taken it and cut it into a smaller size, more the size of a washcloth. You can see that. And this dries faster, and once it's folded up, it takes up a whole lot less space than the normal washcloth. And what about your toothbrush? This is a normal size toothbrush holder for travel, and this is my collapsible toothbrush, much smaller, and you still have a full-size toothbrush to work with, so that works. Then here we have a normal stick of deodorant and my small tub of cream deodorant. This is just a little bit of cream, easy to use, and takes up a whole lot less space. When I found cream deodorant, it made a huge difference in the size of my bag. Next, we're going to look at just things like eye drops. Here's a smaller format of a bottle, making that easier to travel with. I also look at things like Advil. Why would I bring the entire container? First of all, it's full of air, but also I can just put a few tablets in a tub. Oops. And another option of making things smaller is, let's look at your razor. Simply just cutting off part of the handle makes your razor smaller and will obviously take up less space. This is something I would learn from the backpackers and something they would look at doing to make things lighter. Here, looking at a Band-Aid container, this is something you might get and use to carry your Band-Aids in your backpack, but this just takes extra space. So I take it out of this, put it in a plastic bag with my Neosporin, and there you have it, a little first aid kit, taking up a lot less space. Now let's talk about soap. there's no need to take an entire bar of soap. And so what I do is I cut a piece of my soap and fit it into this small container. This is a pill container, travel container, and you can see my small piece of soap here. I've got holes in the bottom to air the soap and allow the water to drip so that I don't have soggy soap when I need to use it in the shower. But no need to take an entire bar of soap with me. And there you have it, my small batch of things, and then the larger format items, which clearly is saving me a lot of space.
Okay. Yeah, that might be good to list like some of the products at some point.
Yeah, so now you can see, switched us back and we're, now that you can see those things, you can tell that I just simply don't say, like April said, to get rid of items, but I'm looking at the size of the item. So if you look at your soap, you're going to make that smaller. You want to look at I look at my washcloth and how can I make that smaller. Definitely like with the deodorant, of using the cream deodorant instead of the stick deodorant. I mean, the packaging alone on the stick deodorant is huge. So you'll realize real quickly that by making each item just a little bit smaller will make the overall packaging of your Toiletries bag smaller. And then again, putting more stuff in my big backpack so I have a lot more room as I move along. So that's really the biggest trick, is really taking each item and trying to decide if I can make it smaller or if I can use a different version of this.
So what are some guidelines that you use when deciding what to pack?
And that's a great question. I wrote down some tips and guidelines, and we'll just take a quick look at the things that I have. So as I said earlier, the first thing I want to do is use the smallest bag possible. So you might start with a small bag and have to get a little bit bigger, but start with a small bag. Then the next thing is, like I said before, consider the size of your packaging. Look at what you're actually using and how much of it you need, and do you need the packaging that it's in, and can you take it out of that packaging and put it in something else. The other thing, which I think is really important to think about, is pack only the amount that you need. So think about that. Like even the toiletries in that travel section at the store, that little thing of lotion, you don't need all of that. That's 3-4 ounces of lotion, or 3 ounces usually for the air flight, right? But you don't need 3 ounces for a weekend. You probably need that little tiny tub that's got just a couple of drops in it, right? Or whatever it is you need. So think about how you can pack only the amount that you need. Another trick that I learned from backpackers is to use a half-used tube of something. So like my Neosporin in my thing is one that's almost used up, so that it's flatter, it has a lot less in it, makes it a lot less heavy. You can just take what you want. And then the next thing I think about, and I've talked to a lot of travelers about this, skip all of the just in case items. Anything that you have in your bag, take it all out and lay it on the bed and just look at it and go, what in this bag am I taking just in case something happens? Because most of those just in case items are available at your destination, right? You're not,
yeah, that's true.
Right? Especially if you're traveling within the United States, there is hardly anything you're not going to be able to get your hands on, right? So if you got a cold, most places are open 24 hours. You can go get cold medicine anytime you want. You don't need to bring it. And the likelihood of you having it is pretty slim anyway. And you can just go to the store and get some. Lots of those things. So I find that a lot of travelers bring a lot of just in case items because it makes them feel safe that they've got all those items, but really you're just weighing your bag down. So move that aside. And then I have another note here about when you're packing the just in case things. Some things you may really want to have, but then think about just packing 24 or 48 hours worth of those things. So for example, and when we can have another session about my first aid kit, my first aid kit has a couple of tablets of upset stomach medicine, cold medicine. It has a couple of tablets of each of those things because I don't want to get caught in another country where it might be hard to get a hold of it, and then it's the middle of the night and I need to get through tonight's sleep or whatever, and I want that. But I don't need an entire bottle or an entire week's worth. Because the pharmacy will open tomorrow, and after a day or two, I can go get something. You do want to pay attention to what's readily available in different countries, because there are different things when you're traveling. But just think about that. Remember, you don't need to pack the whole bottle of allergy medication, right? If you think you might get
Right.
an allergy or you might have a problem, put a couple of tablets in your bag. And then if you really have a problem, you can use those 2 tablets while you go find access to a larger package and you need it. So, and the likelihood of that happening is slim, but then you're not, weighing down your bag with all of these just in case items. I think that makes a huge difference in the size of your bag. And I find a lot of people, when I'm helping them or looking at what they're packing, that is what their bag is full of. Their bag is full of, well, what if this happens? We do it with our clothes too.
Right.
We could talk about that.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Right.
Yeah.
So just remove anything you're packing light, all the just in case stuff goes away. So
I love that. Yeah, that makes a huge difference. And like you said, just have enough to get you through to when you would be able to access a pharmacy or call down to the front desk and
Right.
ask them, can you please, yeah, what do I need?
Right.
So can you share a story about having something in your bag that saved you during a trip?
So my best story is when I was, it wasn't saving me, I saved someone else. So I was in Pittsburgh in a train station, and this poor woman got her skirt caught in an escalator.
Oh.
And it was the middle of the night, and the poor girl was standing at the bottom of the escalator. She couldn't go anywhere because her skirt was, a couple of inches of her skirt was stuck in the teeth of the escalator. And, the people, somebody went off the escalator so it wasn't moving, but she couldn't get it out. And they had turned it, reversed it and gone forward a couple of times, and she was getting really scared because as it was moving, it was literally going to pull her skirt off her body. Like it was going to eat the skirt. And I was standing over, waiting for my train or do whatever, and I'm watching this, and I'm like, oh my God, this poor woman is going to, be naked in a minute because it's going to pull the skirt off, and nobody knew what to do. And because I always carry scissors, I had a good pair of scissors, and I knew exactly where they were because they were in my little Toiletries bag, in that little bag. I just opened my backpack and went over and I said, would you want to cut your skirt? And she's like, oh, please. Because she felt, she's like, I'm stuck here. So I just cut a couple of inches off her skirt and freed her from the poor escalator. And so it does help just having those items. Like sometimes just having the right thing in your hand makes a big difference on your trip. And then I can tell another story is also when I helped another friend when I was in Vietnam. She was having flu-like symptoms and she wasn't feeling well. We had gotten back to the room and it was late. And she was just, a stuffy nose, that kind of thing. And she was saying she was going to have trouble sleeping. And because I bring 2 or 3 tablets of everything, I was like, oh, I've got cold medicine, and I just go in and open up my thing. And I've got 2 days of cold medicine. And I'm like, here's a couple tablets for you. And of course, she had to go to the pharmacy the next day to get more for the next several days. But she was able to get through the night with that. It's funny. When I was thinking about this question and how to answer it for me, my response was sort of like, I wouldn't know because having it, I had it, so it solved my problem. So it didn't feel like I had a problem because I had the thing. But I definitely noticed it when I had it and someone else didn't. So it made a big difference in carrying the right things. So.
Oh, that's great. So what about items you've stopped taking after years of travel now? Are there certain things you've just eliminated, as you mentioned?
Well, it's funny because the one thing that I have eliminated from all travel, and it's not toiletries related, is I no longer bring an umbrella. That's something that everybody talks about. Always bring an umbrella. What if it rains? When you're traveling, an umbrella is just awkward. Unless I'm going to like a city like New York or someplace where I'm really just going to walk on sidewalks and getting in and out of cars or something, then having an umbrella is just useless. I know I took it my first trip to Costa Rica, and it was like, I don't know why I have an umbrella in the jungle. It's a little useless, right? This is silly. So a really good raincoat makes a big difference. And then as far as my toiletries bag is concerned, I just get rid of all of those just in case items. So when you look in your toiletries cabinet in your bathroom, there's a ton of things in there, but I really just narrow it down to what am I going to need every single day and avoid taking anything that I don't need or that I don't always use. So, and things just like your packing of your clothes, things that you're like, oh, it would be nice to use, but you're not going to use it, so don't take it. Those are the things to avoid. So
you mentioned some other stuff that you pack. What are some of the other things that you pack? Especially, like you mentioned, trying to get everything into one backpack.
So as I said, like there's definitely the a little first aid kit that I take along with me, and then I usually do pack some sort of like gadget bag that includes my like chargers and that sort of thing. So, and I try to be really good. And when you talk about the stuff in the bag, when you looked at my toiletries bag, I try to look at things that are multi-use. So, as I said before, and I'm sure it sounds funny, and we could have a whole session about the fact that I wash my face with honey, and I do that, and I use coconut oil, and those are the only two things that I use on my face. And but the honey is useful for lots of things, and because you put it in your tea, warm that kind of thing.
Oh, that's true.
And the
Yeah.
coconut oil has come in handy for multiple reasons because coconut oil is both a moisturizer for my face as well as my body. But I've also cooked with it when I was in hostels. It's like, oh, I need something to fry something in. So I go to my toiletries bag and I've got coconut oil. The same thing is true with like the baking soda because I use baking soda to brush my teeth. But that baking soda is useful for lots of other things. It's good as an exfoliant for your skin. It's good for cleaning things if you need some. So having just a little bit of that. So I think it's interesting to look at your items and see how can you turn some of those things that you're bringing along with you into like multi-purpose things. I know lots of people will talk about floss, and I bring dental floss, and I'm not a person that flosses every single day as much as I know we should, but I always bring floss because floss is a string and it's really strong. So it's something that you could opt to use to fix something, tie things together. The same thing is true with like headbands and bobby pins. Like I may not use them very often, but I usually have them in my bag because those kinds of things are helpful when you're traveling. You need to like bundle something together. Having
Right,
things like
right. Yeah.
a rubber band is really helpful somewhere. And if you have that in your bag, it'll be good. So
Yeah.
I think that's it as far as the other extra stuff I have.
So I actually do have a question.
Okay.
As far as going through airport security, then, do you have to pack a separate, they talk about the 3x3, the plastic bag, or do you just put the whole, how does that, if you could explain how that works? Because
Yes.
obviously
So
you're
the bag.
traveling internationally, and when you traveled for 8 months, you were traveling a long distance. So,
Yeah, so the bag that I use, that's the bag within a bag. This bag
oh,
is
okay.
actually one of those that you can use. So this is the right size. So I can, if I'm taking a flight, as you said, what I would do is I take everything out of that bag, and then I take my other bag, this one that has all my shower items in it, and I take all my liquids and just put those in here. So if it's a liquid, it goes in here. This is what I would use for the flight. And then when I get through security or when I get to the hotel, I can just put it all back the way it was because most of the time you're not worried about that. But the
Right,
bigger bag
right.
that I use is for that purpose. Yeah, it's exactly that reason why you need to have it. And that's another reason that I like having bags within a bag because then if I have to do that, that's pretty easy to take those two out, lay them in my
Right.
suitcase, and then use this as a third bag to get through security. And then I put it all back in here um, to for the rest of the duration of the trip. It makes it a whole lot easier. Having multiple little bags makes a big difference. I pack with packing cubes also, and that makes a big difference too if you ever have to have your, when you go through airport security and
Right.
they want to
Yes.
unearth everything in your bag, right?
Right.
So it's a lot easier if you have little bags of things because then, you can pack it back up versus all of your clothes and all of your little items. It also makes finding the stuff in your bag a lot easier. So yeah, that's a good question about what I do with security, and that helps. If I didn't have this bag, I would probably do just what you're saying. I would carry a little Ziploc bag that I would roll up and stick
Right.
in here. So I'd have that for the flight because you're right, you would need something to put your liquids in to get through security. Yeah, good
Yeah.
question.